So I decided to take it the safe way and replace all of my lifters, like every single one. So here we've got 8 exhausts, and then we've got all of the intakes. So we are just going to replace all of it. I got this special compressor tool for the cam oil tensioner. I've got some gasket maker. I'm going to do these seals as well because my exhaust cam is leaking from its cam seal. I'm going to do my intake gasket as well, or the valve cover gasket, oops. So I'm going to start by removing some covers. This cover, the intake passage to the air cleaner, and then we're going to have to pull some coils and other things, so let me do that. So I'm going to need this cover off. To make things easier, I'm going to pull this coolant line to my turbo and fold that out of the way. This vacuum line can probably just hang out where it's at. It'll be a little bit in the way, but I got to get this coolant line out of the way, so I'll do that. It's just one hose clamp here, just a 5 mil Allen. Oh yeah, and then there's an 2/8 on either side of that heat shield. We'll grab these 8s off. And there's that. Second air pipe off. Pretty simple. Ah, bugs. Okay, so and it just comes off. Just like that. Alright, so we're at the next stage now, and we can pull this gasket off. Which is actually a really nice gasket. I actually just put this on, I don't know, like 6 months ago, but since I'm getting in the head again, I want to make sure I seal it up good again when I put it back together. You don't want to forget this gasket. Sometimes people do. Sorry about the wind if you can hear that. It's just so windy today. But it's my only day off. So now we're at the stage where we can't remove the camshafts because the timing belt is still on the exhaust cam right here. What we want to do is take this timing belt off of the exhaust gear, and you can actually do that without removing it from the main pulley down there at the bottom, and I'll show you how to do that right now. Alright, something I forgot to mention is we should probably remove this camshaft position sensor right here. It's really easy, it's just some 10s and then it comes right off. So I'll pop that off, and then we'll have a little more sight, and you're going to need that off anyways. So what I've done is I've put, I think, an 8 mil onto this 8 Allen with a big extension, and I'm going to use this to detension the tensioner. So this slides in. Okay, we're in. And now I'm going to go in with my 13 and I'm going to loosen it. Hopefully you guys can see this. Setting up this camera angle was really fun, very difficult. So I'm breaking that loose, holding pressure with the other hand. Oh geez, that's tight. Okay, and now I'm off. Now I'm loose. And what I'm doing is I'm using this lever to keep the tensioner compressed. And I can even work it down. Oh, it just snapped over, but that's fine. as long as the cylinder down there doesn't decompress fully. And now we've got some play on our timing belt, which is perfect. I'm going to rotate one around. Okay, we're lucky. So everything's good right now. And to see some more really cool engineering, I'll tilt this up. What you'll want to do is put a zip tie on your headlight mount and put a secondary zip tie to hold your lever down. Now we've got our timing belt detensioned and our tensioner compressed. So now we can slide this timing belt off and work on the camshafts. Kind of redneck, but it works. Alright, so one small detail. In that last video you saw, in that last section you saw how this little guy its tail was up in the air up here. Well, once I pushed that down, it took off tons of tension. So now the timing belt is really loose, but still the tensioner is compressed because of my Allen bar system. And now we can definitely move the timing belt off. Of course, if you ever move a timing belt, mark it first so you can know exactly where you were. And as long as you put it back and don't spill paint everywhere like me, you should be fine. I don't know if you saw that. I marked it here and then it dripped all over, but we're not going to be rotating anything really, so it should be fine. So I'll just pop this belt off and set it aside. Tuck it out of the way. Putting it back on is the really fun part. Okay. Alright, so now our timing belt's off, and we can start working on the cams. Now we get to use our fun specialty tool. This is the oil tensioner compressor tool. Slides down this hole right here, and then it just threads into a hole. And what it's going to do is tension or detension this oil compressor. Come on. So you slide that in there, screw this down. You want to do this by hand. Alright, now we're good to take off the cam caps. I know that the torque sequence, you torque 2 and 4 together. So those two and those two when you're putting it back together. So makes me think we would do 5 and 3 last. And so I'm just going to start with taking off 5 and 3. And of course I'm going to break them loose by hand first. Alright, so we've got our cams out, and now we're going to replace all the lifters, which just involves, you get a magnet stick, and you get a bucket, and you just pull them all out. And I just noticed, can you see that? All that buildup, all that oil buildup? I'm guessing that was the bad lifter. Because if it's not taking oil, but it's being fed oil to that corner, and there's just a huge puddle, I'm guessing that's probably the bad lifter. I knew it was on the exhaust side, so We're gonna replace all these anyways, but yeah, it looks like that's the bad guy. Let's have a look at it, see how bad it is. Soaks in this oil first. Gosh, I need an oil change. I'll probably do an oil change after this because of all the possible debris that got in here. Well, visibly it doesn't look terrible. Well, I can't tell by feel. Who knows? But yeah, I'm gonna pop all these out. Alright, so it's kind of windy. Hopefully that doesn't come through the mic. What we've done is we've replaced our camshaft seals. Those are new seals. We've installed all our new lifters in there. And I had the cams out, of course, but now I've reset them. I have another video on this, but you want to make sure these two tick marks are 16 chain links apart, starting at the previous link from this tick mark. So 16 all the way up to this one, so that should be number 16 there. And so we're going to bolt these down. I need to look up the sequence. Let me get that real quick. Alright, so tighten these caps back down. We're going to start with 2 and 4. The torque spec is 10 Newton meters, which I think, if I remember right, converts to 7.4 foot-pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and torque all these. So starting with 2 and 4 on each cam, 10 Newton meters, and then I'll do 3 and 5, and then the end caps. So yeah, enjoy the time lapse. Okay, so now what I want to do, now that I got all these caps torqued down, is I want to make sure that my chain is good and in sync, and I want to remove this tensioner tool, the hold down. So I'm going to slowly let that off, and what I'm going to look at is these timing marks here. If they line up as the arrows line up, then we should be good. So actually, before I can rotate the cams over, I need to slide the timing belt back on, which you can just sneak it back on. And as you can see, my marks are lined up again. Now I should be able to turn over the cams and check the timing. All right, back to where we were. I got my timing belt on. This is kind of tricky though, because I should probably set the tension first on this timing belt. I'm gonna do that. I can do that off camera because it's kind of tricky and it takes a while, but basically I'm going to release this bar and bring the tensioner back to good tension, which should be about, when you can turn the belt 90 degrees, that would be good tension. Right now it's like I can do way over 90, it's super loose. So I'm going to try and set that tension and check my timing points and then rotate it, but yeah, that's basically how you replace the lifters and get the cams in and out. Not super crazy, as long as you watch all your marks and follow your torque sequence, and yeah,